Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to continue the Godzilla 30 for 30 series. And as you can tell, we've been switching it up quite a bit. Actually, to be quite honest, since I got so involved with some of the other videos in the series, especially the ones that require a little bit more research and that I've been doing kind of docu style, I almost forgot this video and tomorrow's video. I never actually recorded them, so I had to kind of come in here and make sure I get these two done, because these two videos were meant to be in a more personal format, but because it's last minute, I had to actually do it up here in the streaming studio. So, but this video, we're going to talk about the Godzilla Heisei series returning to form. And when we talk about returning to form, when you look at the Showa series, obviously the beginning of the series with Godzilla 1954, as we've said many times, a very dark movie, very thematic seriousness, things of that nature. And then as the Showa series went on, most of everything was cheesy going forward. I would say Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla definitely more on a serious tone, and portions of Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, as I argued in my most recent video of the darkest Showa movie, did have some areas of it that were rather dark, that I really think that movie had a lot of potential that was, I don't want to say squandered, but was put to the wayside in favor of Godzilla coming off as a hero and a hero for children and the ultimate good guy. But I would say the Heisei series was a return to form in regards to 1954. And that's because a lot of the movies in the Heisei series, I would say, while they still had their element of cheese, were definitely more a darker tone and on the serious side. Godzilla was at least taken more seriously. He wasn't doing dances, he wasn't flying, and he was much more of a anti-hero. There were pretty much almost every movie where he was destroying Tokyo one way or the other, and he would stop to fight another monster who'd basically be stomping on his playing ground. And we look at 1954 as Godzilla Returns, or Godzilla 1985, as the movie that really kind of set the tone as to what was to come. Now, it took them 5 years after Godzilla Returns to, and we'll talk more about Godzilla Returns in detail in the next video in this 30 for 30 series, but it took 5 years before they kind of went and started making the movies again. Then came Godzilla vs. Biollante and so on and so forth. But it really was a return to form. I mean, it's still never on the scale or on the level of Godzilla 1954, but definitely more of a serious tone than pretty much all the Showa movies. Now, there were elements of cheese, as I said. Got little Godzilla in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla was kind of goofy looking, but the Dorats, of course. Who could forget the Dorats? While the fight between Godzilla and Ghidorah was epic, and Godzilla vs. Mecha King Ghidorah was epic, the Dorats were pretty cheesy. But at least he gave some sort of background to Ghidorah that was a little bit new, wasn't extraterrestrial per se. But, you look at movies like Godzilla vs. Destroyer, which was very thematically dark. I would say that is definitely, to me, a very serious movie from beginning to end. And that movie had some horror elements in the very early going, as Destroyer was just a smaller size. Before Destroyer even became a large kaiju, the little Destroyers running around was pretty terrifying. So, the Heisei series definitely had some really, really good gems. It was a nice middle ground to what was a very fun and a very entertaining Showa series, and a Millennium series that, of course, we'll get into down the road, that was underwhelming, but had some very good gems, had some very unique monsters of their own. But the Heisei series was definitely a return to form in terms of Godzilla and how he was represented on screen. He was not represented as a hero. He was not represented as friendly to anyone. And he had no qualms about crushing Tokyo and other parts of Japan if he wasn't dealing with another monster. And when he was dealing with another monster, he would stop what he was doing, and he was pretty OP in the Heisei series, I gotta say. So yeah, I would say as we roll into the Godzilla Heisei series, and we're going to talk tomorrow about Godzilla 1984, we're just going to talk about that movie in and of itself, one of my favorite movies. I would say definitely that this is one series in the Godzilla era, in all the Godzilla series. This is the one era that I would say was really, really such a great representation of the character in and of itself. You know, there were some shenanigans going on in the overall movies. M11, who we all love for that cheesy goodness, but Godzilla at its core was definitely more menacing, was more a force of nature again, and had no qualms about destroying anything surrounding him, only to stop the fight of the monsters. And it was really great. Some of the best suits were in this era, and the OP breath. He really did OP. Not only was his breath OP, it was used a lot, and we spoke a little bit about the director who was criticized heavily for using so many projectile weapons for all the monsters. You know, Batra, Mothra, Rodan had it. You know, every other monster had it. So, but we're going to talk about the Heisei series in detail, especially some of the monsters, much like we did in the Showa era. And we're going to just have a general talk tomorrow in this format about Godzilla Returns, or Godzilla 1984, 1985, however way you will. I think everybody likes Godzilla Returns the best because there's extra footage in there that they cut out in the American version. So, but until tomorrow, let me know your thoughts about where the Heisei series stands for you. You know, I consider it a very, very good series, and I consider it probably the one series or the one era out of all that really consistently represented Godzilla the way he was represented in 1954. Almost kind of a combination of shenanigans and seriousness, but it did deliver some of the best movies in the Godzilla franchise. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.